All right. All right. Thanks, everybody, once again for tuning into another episode of Aftershocks TV, where today we're going to be taking a trip back in time to the late 80s, early 90s, when a legendary heavy psychedelic rock band from New Jersey was beginning to ascend into the throes of the heavy rock movement that was taking place on both coasts of the U.S. at that time. Eventually, the band went on to receive MTV radio and commercial success in the mid to latter part of the decade. And of course, I'm talking about the mighty Monster Magnet, as the band is getting ready to re-release the 20-plus minute psychedelic track Tab that predated their classic full-length debut, Spine of God. The record is titled Test Patterns Volume 1, and here with me today to talk about the record is the original member of Monster Magnet who played on that track. I'd like to welcome Mr. Tim Cronin to the show. Tim, man, how are you? Thanks for coming on, man.
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's talk about it here. Test Patterns Volume 1. It comes out November 11th. It's on vinyl on God Ignored Records. And, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the album is comprised, I know, of obviously a remix version of Tab, as well as the demo version, the original version, I believe, the track that was on the band's first demo back in '88, Forget About Life. I'm High on Dope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is a great title, by the way. I love that. So I guess, Tim, just start us off by, I guess, we'll have you talk a little bit more in detail about what's on the record, what it's comprised of, and why'd you decide to put this out now so the fans can obviously check out a good piece of Monster Magnet history here.
Well, we had done this when we had gotten together. John McBain and I had a band called Dog of Mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a weird group, and we recorded, it was just me and him. And then when we played out, it was whoever was around. So it went from a live setting of like sometimes 4 people, sometimes there were 8 to 10 people, whoever was there. Okay. So it was weird. And Dave was one of the people we had known, because we was all from Red Bank, New Jersey. We had all worked in there. Mm-hmm. And John and I worked at the 2 different record stores that were there. And Dave ran the comic book store.
Okay.
And Dave had been in a band, Shrapnel, who had actually, put a record out, which was a big deal back then.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And on a major label even. And so we had asked Dave if he wanted to manage the band. And he was like, yeah, kind of go fuck yourself. He was like, I'll play in it. But, so we were like, okay. So he had joined up Dog of Mystery then, and we had played some stuff. And then the band morphed into, for a brief period, there was this band called King Fuzz that only lasted like a month.
Okay.
And it was more of a straight, like, biker rock kind of thing. We never recorded, so it's kind of hard to remember, but it was pretty cool. I played drums in that too. And then we started doing Monster Magnet. And then we did a demo, and back then nobody was getting signed. Like it wasn't even a thought. It was the only band around there was a psych band called Laughing Soup Dish that put out a couple of records on Bomp. A solid outfit. So we were just doing stuff for us, and we were, something to dig on. We took all the shit that we liked, like old exploitation movies and comic books and just stuff that would make us laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So we, we recorded stuff, and then that was on the first demo. And Tab, we just kind of went full in and just wanted something long and just kind of pummeling and dumb and psych, and that's what we got pretty much.
Okay.
Because I was definitely the weak link. I mean, I'm a fucking shitty drummer. I mean, I am fucking just terrible, but it was good for what we were doing, and because nobody gave a shit,
Mm-hmm.
We recorded it on John's 4-track, and I was like a wind up monkey toy, just like that, and it was like. Just like, the only way to have music with band music
So yeah, so I mean, well, Tim, now just thinking of the song. I mean, obviously, was this just a song that you guys just was it more of like a jam type of song? You just kind of fucked around, like you said, and just
You
kind of
know,
went with it, or because it's
well,
such a
we had
long
like
song.
a
Yeah.
basic thing where we just wanted it kind of like simple and pummeling and kind of like krautrock or old space rock.
Hmm.
So we just kind of went with it and we just kept playing it and just it's super repetitive. And then Dave had this story about a family that grew up in his neighborhood
Hmm.
that kind of went off the rails. So he told that story, and we just kind of just beat the shit out of everything for like 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
then John went back and added some guitars and stuff, and I mean he's a fucking genius with a 4-track.
Hmm.
And then we just put it on the tape.
Nice. Now, because within the song, I mean, obviously vocally, you just hear Dave. It sounds like him just in the background, just talking about a bunch of stuff. I hear stuff about acid and just we're kicking someone in the teeth or something, and
Yeah, I
punching them
mean
in the face.
that's
Is
the
that the
story.
story?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was interested. Okay, very cool. So now, I mean, now your time in the band, Tim, like you said, I know you were there pretty early on, obviously with the demos, and you were on, I believe, the self-titled EP.
Yeah.
Um, and I know afterwards I did, read that you kind of still, like you kind of alluded to, you kind of still worked with the band afterwards,
Yeah.
right? Throughout the years. Hmm.
Yeah. Like when we started, like we had no aspirations, zero. You
Okay.
know, we
Hmm.
just, like I was saying, just wanted something that would entertain us.
Hmm.
And so like early on, like it didn't really matter because it was just a bunch of fucking just drony psych noise with yelling,
Hmm.
pretty much, which was great. I mean, I love that shit. So,
Sure. Hmm.
um, and as it got like, I want to say more serious, but you can't do that forever. Things
Hmm.
progress. And as
Hmm.
things progress, like I was definitely the weak link. I was not, like I said, not a great drummer. My drum setup was 2 floor toms and a ride cymbal. That was it,
Okay. Hmm.
And then like I started singing and like I'm okay. I mean, I'm John Kleiman and I have had a garage rock band called the Ribeye Brothers since
Hmm.
'96. We put out 5 or 6 records, and I'm good for that. But like for Magnet, you need like swagger,
Hmm.
and I have like what could best be described as like anti-swagger.
Hmm.
Um, and Dave was writing these songs, and I couldn't sing them, and he was just getting acclimated to playing guitar and singing. So there was like a point where like it wasn't going to go any further with me as a singer.
Okay.
So then, I mean, I wasn't in a band for a little bit, and then I started doing like the projections,
Hmm.
the overhead projections and all that kinds of shit. And I was doing that until Jesus 2015.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Very cool, man. Very cool. Now, like just getting back to the formation of the band, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, obviously, yeah, he was with the band Shrapnel, which was on Elektra,
yeah,
which I believe was actually it was Michael Lago's first band that he
yeah.
signed,
It
I
was.
believe, before Metallica and everything. Yeah. And obviously, and Phil, obviously, Caivano was also in that band as well. So now, when you guys decided to do the musical direction, because obviously at that point in the late '80s, like you said, at that time, I mean, especially that type of music, nobody was really, I mean, putting anything out like that. And then eventually,
Right.
obviously, you guys did wind up hooking up with the German excuse me, Glitterhouse Records. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did just, I mean, did you guys like? I mean, when it came to even playing shows, were you guys a live band at that point, or was this just the
Yeah.
recordings? You were okay.
Well,
Uh,
we played live a couple of times, and then
mhm,
after the first demo, we quickly added John and Joe,
okay.
um, John Kleiman and Joe Calandra.
Hmm.
They were in a punk rock band called the Shock Mommies.
Hmm.
Um, and John's an amazing drummer, kind of Keith Moonish. Joe's a solid bass player. So then I sang and played second drum at that time. So we were playing places. Well, we played like CB's and Maxwell's, and didn't tour,
Hmm.
but played, up and down, New York, New Jersey. Um, we did okay, and it was a small scene. You know, the first single came out. Well, I mean, the first single was when we were a three-piece. That came out on Circuit Records,
Okay.
which was they put out Surgery,
Oh, okay, sure.
Cop Shoot Cop.
Oh, so like more of a noise rock type of
Yeah,
label.
and
Yeah.
you know, I'm still working at the same record store that I was when the band started,
Oh, wow,
and
nice, very cool.
Circuit was also a distributor, and
Mm.
Sean from Surgery, he was my salesman. And you know, I said, "Hey, I have a band," and he was like, "Oh, send me a cassette." So you know, we sent him the demo, and he liked it. And then he got his boss to put the record out,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
how it started. And then after that, Ned Hayden from the Action Swingers, he had a side label on Caroline called Primo Scree,
Okay.
and he did the second single. Meanwhile, Gunther, I think his name was, from in Germany for Glitterhouse, he liked what he heard and put out the stuff over there too.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So yeah, the next question I want to ask you, Tim, also, now in terms of those early shows, I mean, when did you start to notice that the band was starting to sort of maybe resonate with some fans around town, you know, in the New York and New Jersey area? Or, I mean, were you guys, now that you were on Glitterhouse over in Germany, did you have any sort of following then over in Europe and in Germany,
Yeah,
you know? And okay.
Germany liked us more than the people over here liked us.
Okay.
Like we would play at the local. There was a bar called the Brighton Bar in Long Branch, which was where everybody played, and it was local to us. And lots of bands played through there for forever. And like nobody gave a shit. You know, we had a handful of fans. I mean, they were solid fans, but like the vast majority of people didn't care.
Okay.
And up in New York, it was a little bit better, but you know, we were seen as like, some, Jersey fuckheads. So nobody really cared about that either. But we got shows and we built up, enough fans where it kept going and it got better. And Dave's a great songwriter, and the stuff him and
Yeah.
John did on that early thing really resonated with a handful of people, and it grew pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, absolutely. You know, and you know, I'm just going now to Spine of God, obviously, Spine of God, excuse me. That's obviously the record that obviously catapulted, I think, the band more into the limelight of the heavy stoner rock movement there in the early
Sure.
'90s. Obviously, at that point, metal was kind of dying out, grunge was kind of the king, and this new fuzzed out heavy rock sound. You know, obviously, the West Coast had bands like Caius and Fu Manchu, and then Monster Magnet was pretty much leading the charge on the East Coast. So, I mean, how much, just from your observations, being with the band in all different types of capacities, I mean, how much, in your opinion, did sort of the rise in grunge and sort of the death of metal at that time, help, heavy rock sort of become the heavy movement in the U.S., especially, to take notice of a band like Monster Magnet, because like you'd said, at that point, in the late '80s, early '90s, it wasn't getting that much attention, obviously, in the States. That's why
Right.
you guys obviously got picked up by a German label, not here.
Like we identified more with what was going on in Seattle, like especially
Okay.
Mudhoney
Mm-hmm.
and the Screaming Trees.
Mm-hmm.
And then in like Sweden, there's this band Union Carbide.
Okay.
And they were, we definitely, they're stoogey kind of fucking full on shit was great. It was stoogey and just weird.
Mm.
And there was there was some English bands too, like the Walking Seeds, Loop, Spacemen 3.
Mm-hmm.
It was a band called Skullflower their early stuff was great. It's just like heavy drone. We identified more with that. Up in the East Coast, Crystallized Movements, I think, were around that time too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So like, like Caius definitely, but that was like a little later on.
Later, yeah.
But it was more of a, we felt like a kinship with like the Seattle stuff.
Seattle.
Like the bands out there probably listen to the Groundhogs like we listen to the Groundhogs.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, yeah, if you do listen to the self-titled EP, I definitely hear like similar style to Mudhoney. I mean, there's no doubt it has that similar sort of, really with the fuzz, obviously the heavy fuzz
Sure.
guitars. And yeah, no doubt. So now with Tab, I've got the Caroline release of Tab on CD, and that track I believe it's like 8 minutes longer than I think the original, the demo track. I believe that because I think the one on Caroline was like 32 minutes long, and I think the
Sure, that
demo was
was
like 25.
recorded with the 5-piece band.
Oh, I was okay. I was gonna okay. So I
Yeah.
mean, how was that? I mean, re-recording a song, especially that when it's not long, and they increased the length. It was 24 minutes just not long enough at the time, or
It
what?
just, it was weird. Like, there's parts in the song where it modulates.
Mhm.
So we didn't even count. We just had a clock on the wall.
Okay.
And like I think it was every like 8 or 10 minutes, we
Mhm.
all changed. And so it just kept going. And there was a point where we kind of lost track of it. And then we were like, fuck it, it's as long as it is.
Mhm.
That was the
Yeah.
last thing I recorded with them. And I mean, it
Okay.
was released after Spine of God, but it was recorded before Spine of God.
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Screaming out in the street, witness the birth of a freak, stinking malformed. Don't waste a jewel, Chinese. Shining aluminum mine. Bonus dirty stick works just fine. Strong only washed behind. Slice and shine.
Now, in terms of just, going back just really quick about the band playing live in the early days, there was always this talk and mystique about Monster Magnet shows people, just everyone tripping on acid or LSD. I mean, is that obviously just a
It's,
mystique little rumor thing that just people had fun with, or I mean,
yeah,
how were those shows? Were people all fucked up though? I mean, and
yeah,
having a good
people were
time on
fucked
site?
up, but I mean, no
Yeah,
more fucked up than they were at other shows.
true.
I
Okay.
mean, like that people dosing. I mean, maybe it happened. I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Sure. Well, definitely gave, like I said, the band a good mystique, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat fucking good mystique,
No, you can't. No, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So cool. So, well, Tim, now the fact that this is now volume 1 of test pressings, I mean, I'm gonna assume maybe. I mean, I don't know if you're the man to talk to about this, but is there gonna be more volumes coming, going forward with the re-releasing a lot of those demos
I
and some
hope
of the other
so.
stuff? Yeah.
I mean, like there's stuff like, to me, the second demo is my favorite. It's great. It's super raw. It's wiry, and
Mhm.
it's kind of fucked up sounding. One of the songs, the demo for Ozium, shows up on the reissue of Spine of God that came out some time ago. I
Okay.
think it's on Napalm now.
Mm-hmm.
But the demo for Ozium is up on that, and that's a good indication of what the whole demo sounds like. But we're trying to find the original tapes for that. None of us can find it.
Mm.
Like back then when we were doing this shit, nobody thought to think of the future, because it was like, fuck it, this is dumb shit that nobody's going to give a fuck about in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, they recorded. McBain was still in the band. I was out. They did 2 sets at Wetlands in New York.
Oh yeah, sure. Good
That
old
was
Wetlands.
like professionally recorded, and is fucking amazing. And I'd love for that to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the band is fucking on fire, and it's a really good set list. And it was 2 full sets, and it was great. It's fucking great, and it deserves to be released.
Yeah, and that's a great place I could see a Monster Magnet show being at a place like the Wetlands. That's, I mean, that's a
It was
I used to love that place. Yeah,
it was a great show.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, now just you just kind of alluded to the fact that you said when you were doing this, you figured no one within 2 years would give a shit about this stuff. But here it is now. What I mean, 30 plus something odd years later, almost 35 years later, and people
Yeah.
still do give a shit about it. So I mean, just in your own mind, I mean, obviously, because you said you've been connected to the band up until just recently for all those years, especially when they were, I mean, on a major label and getting commercial play and everything. I mean, how much of a mind trip it is to you just to think, we started this little thing, the three of you guys, and here it became this now, I mean, just literally, no pun intended, a monster band globally. You know what I mean? Just especially with the sound, it's not going anywhere. This stoner rock sounds pretty much, it's probably bigger now than it's ever has been.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what goes through your mind, or what is it when you just think of like where the band started from to where obviously they wound up becoming to today?
It's pretty amazing, and like,
Mhm.
Early on when I got, replaced as drummer and then, as singer, like I was kind of bummed out, like, yeah, I could do that. And I knew I couldn't do it, but it was still like, it stung a little bit.
Sure.
But, fuck, man, I've seen the world a number of times. I've gotten to travel, meet really cool people all over the world for decades.
Mhm.
And like, I couldn't have done that without this happening. And that people still give a shit about this stuff, and especially the early stuff, because I mean it's pretty cool. I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, I mean, as you should be. I mean, having a fan base like they do and the success, and knowing you're an original member, that's absolutely, man. That's you're a huge part of the history of it, and what's great about this test patterns, like I said, I really do hope there's more that come out because
Yeah, me too.
yeah, these are just great. When you love a band like that, and you just to hear all the early goings of it, and it's just there's nothing that beats that. Especially when you hear it on a nice piece of vinyl.
Oh,
Especially
sure.
so.
Like I'm pretty excited. Where like I think in a couple of weeks, the first Queens of the Stone Age is getting reissued on vinyl.
I think I heard that. Yeah,
which is great. That's a great record.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
And then what else? There was a Goatsnake just got reissued. The first Goatsnake.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I mean that's just record store nerd shit, but like, that stuff's fun. I'm really psyched to be a part of that. Even like a small tile and a whole mosaic of it, it's really fucking cool.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if it wasn't for McBain, this would have never seen a light of day. I mean, him and Jason from God Unknown. I mean, it means a lot.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So for all you stoners, psychedelic rock junkies out there, go ahead and add one more piece of the genre's history to your record collection and go pick up a copy of Test Pressings, Volume 1 for Monster Magnets, out November 11th on God Unknown Records. So, Tim, where should we send the viewers and listeners to order the vinyl, the copy of the vinyl and the record, and just to, pick up that? I think
God Unknown has a Bandcamp page.
Okay.
You can order from there. And then I think Rough Trade is carrying, there's a special version of it with a different cover.
Okay. And
some postcards and shit of old flyers. I think you might get that from the Rough Trade site, but check God Unknown's Bandcamp.
Okay. So God Unknown. All right. Fantastic. Great. Once again, Tim Cronin, appreciate you coming on, talking some old school Master Magnet stuff with me, man. And hopefully I can get you back on once another one of these test pressings comes out. I hope they really do.
That would be great. Thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it.